Superman 26, legacy number 869, Joshua Williamson writing with Sean Isaacs on the art. So, Lois seemingly lost her powers at the end of all the stuff going on last issue. This issue kind of kicks off the next arc, which is called Superman Red.
Did you also say Eddie Barrows and Eber Faraya? I just heard you say Sean Isaacs.
I did not. They weren't listed on League of Comic Geeks, but if they're also there,
Gotcha.
That's fair enough.
Yes,
they are.
Because I'm looking at the title page, and that's why. I just want to make sure I didn't miss that.
No, that's fair enough. So
Gotcha.
Lex is in prison, and Lena's kind of pissed at him for, killing the Lex clone, having made the whole clone to begin with, all that stuff. Up in the watchtower, they're doing tests on Lois, and they're like, yeah, we think your powers are pretty much gone for good. They're not recharging. Who knows if wherever you get your powers from, it's like maybe they've reverted back to whoever that is, or maybe they haven't, and what does that mean if so? And Lois just kind of tries to say that it doesn't bother her. She's going to go back to the Daily Planet. Like, she loved what her life was before she had powers. She doesn't need them. But and it seems like a happy enough moment between her and Superman. Although later on, when Lex is saying, what do you think that's doing to her, having all that power ripped away? Like, it does cut to her, some panels looking kind of sad on top of the Daily Planet, implying that, yeah, maybe it is actually taking a bit more of a toll on her than she's letting on as she's talking to Superman. She's sort of like holding it in a little bit so he doesn't have to worry about her. Yeah, I guess that's something we just have to kind of like neatly tuck away for now. As the Superwoman stuff.
Because we do get an interlude when they first start talking about that. When Lois goes to the boom tube to go back to Metropolis, we get the interlude with Zod fighting the Coons, and the Coons have the supercore weapons. So he sees the S sigil on the gun, and that's the last thing that we see. So I do think that that's put there for whatever reason. Like, do we think that her powers came from Zod in some weird thing? Or
I feel like we do know that, or at least the very least it was heavily implied that it came from Zod. Yeah.
Right. So like, what's at play here? Because that doesn't seem to be part of the absolute power stuff that had happened. So curious to see where that goes in that interlude. But yeah.
But what makes you say it's not part of the absolute power stuff? That's when it happened.
Right. But right. So again, I'm having blanks here. Right. How would have Waller gotten the powers from Zod? Right? Because Zod's off on another world.
Yeah, but you say that as if she was picking the powers from all the other heroes as well. All of it was random.
Okay. I'm struggling to remember that aspect of it.
No, like Waller wasn't like hand-picking what went where. They're all just kind of random anomalies, like when everything went back to normal. Or mostly normal, I guess.
Right, but how did? Right, but wasn't the Amazos the reason for the powers going out? Right? Or was there a device? I can't remember. I read too many comic books at this point.
I mean, you're asking questions I don't have answers to, but I'm just like, when it happened, it was heavily implied that in the same mix of time where like some of Martian Manhunter's powers went to Grodd and so on, Zod lost his powers. Lois suddenly has powers. Like, they happened at the same time. Maybe they'll swerve us later and say it was a different reason or something, but there is nothing to suggest as of yet that it was anything else other than that. This is you overthinking it again.
Well, yeah, but I'm definitely thinking, because I think there's more, again, with that interlude, there's going to be more to it, I'm sure. Well, them just going away when they do, right? Like...
Well, I don't see why you think this is going to be more to why the power thing happened, though. To me, this is just building up to Zod interacting with the characters again, because one, he wants his powers back, and two, now he's pissed because the Coons have got supercore weapons, and he's probably got some questions about that. This is more about building to him intercepting with the characters again, as opposed to trying to reveal more about... Now, again, they could reveal something later. I don't know, but I don't think... that this is here because we the audience already know that the powers came from Zod, so it's cutting to him because it's just put it into your head, did the powers go back to him, and if they didn't, then where did they go? Connery Joe. So
where did you know what, those are the powers, where did you come from, where did you go?
Yes,
that is the mystery.
So anyway, it's not the only interlude in this issue either. They have that bit of structure here. Lena's yelling at Mercy, who's not in prison, despite the fact that she's the one who did all the bad things in the last arc. Lena says, "I'm done with this place. Everyone betray me." That was a Tommy Wiseau reference. And she leaves. Superman says that he's going to take down Supercorp. It's done. He's going to dismantle it. Mercy says, "No, you can't do that." Gets all angry at him. It's a whole thing. Lena seems to steal a super bike and goes to Midvale. That's the implication on the page anyway. So she might pop up in Supergirl, which is kind of interesting if she does. I wonder if this is like a weird thing they're kind of like bringing in from the TV show a little bit, where they want Lena to be like a Supergirl supporting character. I mean, they're very different versions of those characters, both of them, but sure, why not? I have no reason why not.
And I do love that art when Superman's talking to Mercy, how everything's like yellow behind them and the red really pops with the blue. Like, cause it's doing like a sunset kind of thing, but just, playing with those Superman primary colors. I think it looks, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, also Superman has a shit-eating grin in his face as he basically flies away because Lena stole a super bike and Mercy's not happy about it. There's another interlude at the end of time, which is teasing the Legion of Darkseid, or whatever they're called. What are they called? Legion of Apocalypse?
It's Darkseid's Legion.
Darkseid's Legion?
No, it's Darkseid's Legion.
Okay,
right?
All right. I'm just questioning the name. I'm like, I don't remember if that's the exact title.
I don't either, but yeah.
They're torturing Time Trapper, and they're trying to get into him. And the interesting thing here, and this is actually genuinely quite interesting, is that Saturn Girl from Doomsday, future Doomsday's mind, is basically learning a lot about this world Superman. And they're basically saying, this Superman's so different than the one we've got back in our universe. Like, why is Darkseid so scared of him, or think... Maybe that's not the word they use, don't use scared, but why is Darkseid so concerned with him if he's got that much, like, empathy, and he's so compassionate? Like, so it is quite interesting, some of these characters from the Absolute Universe starting to get their first kind of taste of what the regular versions of the heroes are. But this is the sort of thing where this feels like, well, obviously it's tying into this run because it's the Time Trapper Future Doomsday stuff. Yeah. It does feel like the interesting part here is what it's starting to seed for later on, main universe, Absolute Universe, intermingling, crossover, or whatever they're going to do. So, but, yeah. Cool.
So, like, they tell Lightning Lad, like, be careful, you don't want to kill him, because that's, like, the ultimate thing, right? The Time Trapper wanted. So they're having to play with this, fine line, which I like that interaction between the three of them too, to see this dark version of the main three from the Legion. So that was cool.
And then Superman goes to see Lex at the prison, and he is drawn here with, I have to imagine the reference photo for Superman's frown was a photo of Grumpy Cat, because the way he is frowning at Lex is so comically like, I'm mad at you, Luthor.
Unsee it. Yeah. No, I can't unsee it. Oh, he is. Grumpy Cat is grumpy.
So, a couple of things here. Lex establishes that anyone watching the security cameras of his cell will hear a different conversation, and it like cuts to the security room, and they're just talking about the Metropolis sports teams. But Lex is like, hey, I still want to try to help you. Obviously, like, you're pissed about me killing the clone, there's nothing else, blah, blah, blah. But it gets to the point where he's like, I can get Lois her powers back. I know how to do it. It must be hard on her. And this is when it cuts to, like, some panels of her on the Daily Planet looking kind of, up at the sky, kind of, like, sad and been like, oh, I could fly, now I can't. Now, there's maybe some interpretation here that you could say that this isn't really what's happening. This is just what Lex is kind of saying is happening. But I think it is maybe a bit more interesting if we're going to like deal with the aftermath of her having powers for a while. Is that, there is some feeling of loss when they go away, because she could just go and fly next to him, and now she can't.
Well, yeah, because she was never closer than she was with Clark, right? Like, they were, not that he doesn't view them as equals, right? But like, she wasn't just Lois Lane reporter. Right, she got to get her hands dirty instead of just standing back and doing that type of stuff. So it does make sense from that point, but it's also Lex you can't trust most things he says, right? So when he's like, well, what do you think that's going to do to a marriage? And I can't help but read that as like him like trying to needle at Clark, right? Like even if it doesn't come off here, like he's actively trying to do it, that's just where Lex's mind goes, you know?
It's
so
tough.
It's very interesting.
It's tough to say because it's like it feels like he's still trying to like help him. He's still fully in this. I want to work with you, Superman, to get this done. But what happens here is that when he kind of implies that she might start to resent him when she keeps seeing him use his powers when she doesn't have them anymore. The red kryptonite that's in his system, which I'll be honest, I forgot about until they brought it back up.
Me too.
Yeah. It starts to go nuclear and he starts to get angry. Speech bubble turns red. And it's like there's energy coming off of him, which is destroying the place around him. He looks all sinister and he's like, what did you do, Luthor? And he starts chasing Luthor through the prison. Whilst there's various like security bots and stuff trying to like stop Superman. And Lex ends up next to the cell when he's running away that contains Farm and Graft, the villains from the first arc from this run, from Williamson's run. And they're like, oh, the game continues. Ha ha ha. So
I hate these two so much.
Oh yeah, we're doing the thing where this was all part of their master plan, pretty much.
Yep.
This was always what they intended. And then Lex is like saying, hey, help me stop this, help me save Superman, and then we'll have our three-way fight that you've been wanting the whole time. So Superman's fighting robots. He eventually is able to get the feeling under control though, and he kind of calms down.
Yeah.
He fights it, and he's like asking for help. And the cliffhanger of this issue, because Williamson remembered all of his first arc, is Marlon Moonlight shows up and says that Metropolis must be saved from Superman. That's your cliffhanger.
Look, she's not wrong. He is kind of hulking out right now. He's got red lightning coming off of him. It's destroying stuff. Metropolis does need to be saved, but not in the way that I think Marilyn wants to, which is with one of her revolvers. You know.
Here's my thing. The little epilogue, or not epilogue, interlude of Zod. Interesting. I like the idea of him seeing that symbol on one of these weapons and having like beef to come back and see Superman because of that. That's interesting to me. The other interlude with the Legion of Darkseid finding out about Superman via Doomsday, that's also interesting to me. The main plot, however, other than maybe Lena going to Midvale where Supergirl's hanging out, that's kind of interesting actually. But the main plot is Williamson just going back into all of Williamson's things, which is Farm and Graft, whatever you call them, and Marlon Moonlight. And I'm so disinterested in all these concepts because, like, they never got intro. Like, Moonlight was kind of like an interesting idea to begin with, but then it just kind of, she kept fading away for long periods of time, and then when she showed up, it just kind of felt like, I don't know, they've not made her exciting yet as a character.
Her kind of being the spirit of Metropolis, I'm curious in. I do like her as a concept, but to go from Graft and Farm, and I was like, oh, not these two again. To the final page being Marilyn Moonlight, and she does look cool. The art looks really good there. You know, it's playing with the white against the darkness and whatever. You know, I like that aspect. But you saying Williamson going back into Williamson things as a negative is one of the funniest things that I've heard, because it might be our biggest critique of him. This happens on every series we read that he does. It's so like it is. It's Williamson doing Williamson things again, and man, Farm and Graft sucks so bad. I hope I was never gonna see them again. And now, what does Lex mean? The three-way dance of death? Like, what the hell is he talking about?
Lex wants to fight the guy in the wheelchair. He's like, I'll take on the one in the wheelchair and then take care of the other one.
That is the most Charlie coded Lex has ever been. But yeah, like that's again Williamson get a Williamson. But then, you know, Marilyn, I am curious with the Marilyn Moonlight stuff, you know, just because that whole Superman going back in time thing, I think I liked more than you did, like significantly more than you did. So confused as why Metropolis looks like an old West town, but whatever. But how Graft and Farm play into that with Marilyn Moonlight, and I still want to know where that goes if we ever get there. But it is a bit suspect that the two things that are the most interesting are the things that aren't directly tied to what's been going on, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I have the same lukewarm feeling I have when Williamson's written other things. It's still perfectly readable, and there's the odd little moment of joy here or there, and it's definitely better than Hattush. So take what you will, I suppose. But I'm hoping that Unlimited, Superman Unlimited, that is, ends up being a bit more enjoyable as a long-running series than the main book is right now. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, for having like 3 artists, it's not bad. It definitely some different styles. You know, you do see a bit of a switch here or there. I don't think any of the art particularly looks bad outside of maybe that over the top, like grisly face on Superman. That said, though, that's right before it changes. Like the page after that is clearly a different artist. So like it's like really like it's very Eddie Barrows, I think that is, and then you go to the next page, and I'm going to assume that's IZAAKSE. I could be wrong, but because I feel like Ferreira and Barrows complement each other a lot more, because I feel like they've done like issues together before where it's not been too striking a difference. And obviously the interludes are different artists, and that's fine because they're very separate. They're doing different things, so that's all right. But anyway, it's fine. Matt, what are you rating Superman?
I'll give this the straight 7.
That's a little bit too on the good side for my liking. I'm going to say it's a nice 6 out of 10. It's okay.